Do you have something inspiring to say? Have you always known that your voice can contribute to the world? Is now the time? Yes, now is the time. The world is waiting for you. Welcome to the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. Today, we have an inspiring guest who is ready to share their voice with the world. Now, onto the show.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're listening. Welcome to the Open Mic Spotlight Show. I am the host today, Christine McIver, and I have another inspiring guest who's changing the world by what really inspires them. Today I have David Simpson with me, and we're going to be talking about how personality determines your life. Before I bring David on, I want to just read you his bio so it gives you a glimpse into who he is and what's going on with him. So David Simpson is an engineer by training. Like many engineers, he struggled to get along with people, yet was able to rise to the level of director of operations at a mid-sized food company, based largely on his ability to problem solve and train other engineers. Valuing self-improvement, David found himself in a communication course based on personality types, and his curiosity was piqued. A decade later, David is a certified consultant and trainer in 2 personality systems and helps develop sales, leadership, and relationship skills in people looking to move their life to the next level. If you'd like to learn more about David, you can pop over to his website, davidsimpson360.com, and you can also find him on all the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, using David Simpson 360. So welcome to the show, David. I'm really intrigued to share with everybody what we were talking about before we began the show.
Well, thank you very much, Christine. It's so amazing sometimes when you tell people what you know about them by their personality, and people are usually shocked. I've been asked, am I psychic? And the answer is, no, I'm an engineer. I'm not psychic at all.
Maybe a little psycho sometimes, but not psychic.
I'll agree to that.
So, David, take us back to that time when you went for that course. Tell us what was going on in your life and then what you experienced during that day's training or days' trainings.
Well, so the actual training, I was the director of operations at that food company that you referred to, and my team didn't, while they respected me and they thought that I really, was looking to try to build them up the best way I could, the communication between us wasn't wonderful. And so the president, who I reported to, asked me to take a course. And when I learned that other people thought differently than I did, it was quite surprising.
I've had that astonishment too. What? Everybody doesn't think the way I think?
Correct. What they value is different. Everything is different. And so many things that our perceptions give to us about the world that are influenced actually by our personality. And so our personality really largely determines how we see the world. And so people weren't seeing the same thing I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so what did you learn about your... Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, what did I learn about myself?
Yeah, what did you learn about yourself during that course?
Well, I am the classic engineer. We'll get into the personality types, but what I was at the time was somebody very much focused on learning, the belief that there's universal truth. And I wanted to take all that learning and apply it to helping the world be a better place, to help, drive results for the world. Mm-hmm. As a result, the classic engineer and the classic learner believes that it's possible to be right. And I labored for a lot of years in my life under the belief that it's possible to be right. For those on the call who believe that it's possible to be right, go to YouTube. When you're in YouTube, look for a video called The Gorilla Experiment. There are 2 of them. Watch the first one in black and white. And then tell me at the end of that, when you get asked 2 questions, you'll spend about a minute and a half on it for those who do it. And at the end of that, if you still believe you can be right, then more power to you, because I looked at it and I went, oh my God, where am I now?
Now you've got me peaked. So this is a pretty big statement, though, to say that your personality can determine your life.
Well,
like, I'm sure that you have lots of skeptics out there when you say that.
Well, and I don't blame them for being skeptical. Most of us go through life unawake. And once we realize that we can wake up and we can actually be somebody, be something, my belief is we can actually be anything, because once we become awake, we can actually control our personality. But let's learn a little bit about it before we go there.
Right. So tell us about how you determine the personalities. Like what is it that you first start to teach people about the work that you do?
Well, personality systems originate from ancient India, about 4,500 years ago, as part of understanding medicine. And it's built right into what we now call the Ayurvedic medical system. Indian people discovered that there were 4 basic archetypes that the combinations of them actually determine our personality. And so those 4 archetypes are the relationship person, the action taker, the systemizer, and the thinker. And so there's a whole lot of stuff that builds up around those, but we're all a combination of those 4 types. Now, there's lots of other personality measuring systems. Myers-Briggs comes to mind. Many people would be familiar with Myers-Briggs. Yes. The point of the 4 personality archetypes, and there's probably 20, 25 systems that show you which archetype you are in some form or another. The first system out was DISC. Then there's True Colors, and there's another color-based system. There's one based on fish. There's one based on gems. There's a lot of different categorization systems that basically give you the opportunity to go in and discover who you are. For me, my combination at the time was a thinker-doer.
Okay.
So I learned about that, and I learned how it impacted the way that I interrelate with people. And so at that point, once you know yourself, it's easier to affect yourself and understand yourself, and then understanding a little bit about others allows you to then relate to them in a way that's more effective. For example, Christine, I know already that you are a relationship action person. Okay, as a relationships first person, because you did a little test. For the listeners, if you want to, later on we're going to have, I think, an open mic portion. If you want to, go to a website, playbankcode, playbankcode.com, and on there you'll be asked to sort 4 cards. Those are your personality archetypes. When you call in later, tell me what your card order is in terms of colors. You don't need to hit the submit button, but go and have a look, and you'll be surprised, again, what we know about you just based on your cards. Christine did that a little while ago. We were talking about it before we got on the show. And you were surprised at how much it predicted about you.
Yes, I was. And such a quick, fast, easy, yes. Now, I'm going to say, or ask David, I've done a lot of personal development work. And, you know, I've been really, for the last 20 years, I would say, been, quote unquote, doing me. Does it make a difference for people who have not been doing a lot of self-discovery work, who have not been doing their internal work?
Oh, no. In fact, everybody's got a combination. What surprises people who've done no work on themselves is how predictable they are.
Right.
Quite literally, there are 24 combinations. You're one of them.
Right.
And people sit there and go, there's only 24 unique. Well, there's variations on each theme, okay? So there's no hard and fast rule. And some people will say the 24 are really 32, but in the end, there's really not that many different combinations. Because your personality is largely determined by your values. Your sets of values are determined by your environment. It's quite predictable how people are going to end up being. For example, if you grew up in Japan, where it's very important to fit in, the odds are that you're going to be much more of the systemizer. That the systemizer personality. I like to think accountants. When I start thinking of the systemizer, it's somebody who values traditions, wants to have rules. If everybody just followed the rules, the world would be a better place. Think about them as inside-the-box thinkers. Now, in a place like Japan, you have to fit in. It's very critical in their culture that you fit in, and so the systemizer is a people-oriented person who knows how to fit in. So culturally, they're driven towards that particular personality type. So there's lots of things that impact us, and I'd like to believe it's completely random, but it's actually programmed. Your environment creates your values create your personality. Interestingly enough, as we'll get into, if you change your environment, you can actually change your personality and become anything.
You must have been mind reading. That's what I was like, wait a second, where's the choice? Right? That's one of the biggest things that kind of pops up for me. It's interesting. I have a friend she's actually a host here on the network, David, and she's from the Netherlands, and she lives in China, and she is not a system person at all. And it's interesting when she shares what she's doing and being and creating in the world in her life. She's very much outside of the box. So,
yes.
So I mean, we know that it's definitely possible, and I'm curious, what do you see is going on in North America with a lot of people? Are we trying to break out of the box? Are people trying to put us into the box? What's happening in our culture here in North America?
Okay, let's go a little into the detail, and we'll come back to we're now being led by people who are action oriented, and so our culture is becoming very much me-focused, action-oriented. Now, just to get everybody up to speed. So again, your first type is the relationship person, and if you go to that website I gave, playbankcode.com, the color that represents that is yellow. So I'm going to refer to relationship people as yellows from here on. So again, the yellow personality type is really, I guess, you're driven by the need for authenticity. If you had a theme, it would be, to thine own self be true. And you value things like ethics, potential for people, relationships, creativity, and so on. So your focus is around growing people in order to have a better world. The second type, the action person, the color that we use here on that site is red. Now, the Reds care about their image, they care about winning, they care about competition. It's all about me. And so we'll recognize that certain leaders in the world are all about me. Ordinarily, we have a balance between the cards, and some people, President Trump, I look at him and I don't think there's anything other than red in him. The systemizer is represented by the blue. A systemizer is a traditionalist. The best day is not the same day. The best day is a day that goes according to the way I planned it. So systemizers like to have plans and love when the plans actually work out. The thinker is represented by the green card, and the thinker has the fundamental belief that it's possible to be right, that there are absolute truths in the world. And as I said earlier on, I used to be one of those. Not anymore.
I love that. I'm a recovering systemizer.
Well,
right?
At one time when I was single, I had been divorced, and I went onto a website for dating, and my first line that I put in there, where they want you to put in something about yourself, and I said, I used to be an engineer, but I'm recovering and hope to be a real person soon.
That's awesome.
So
God.
now let's go back through those colors. If you're a blue, again,
okay,
the
David,
systemized,
I'm going to stop you right there.
Go ahead.
Sorry. We need to take our first break, and when we get back, we're going to dive in deeper with all of this, okay? So
Sure.
If you are listening and you would like to ask David some questions, if you would like to learn more about who you are, and you've taken that test or haven't, you're more than welcome to call in. If you're in the U.S., call 815-880-8255. In Canada, 613-800-8736, or you can Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. And we'd love to invite you on the call. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back right after this short commercial break.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a wonderful guest today, David Simpson, and we are talking about personalities and how they can determine your life. So, David, before we went for the break, you had just started to tell us about the 4 different personality markers, and you can actually find out about that at mybankcode.com if you want to take that test. So let's dive.
Playbankcode.com.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I'm looking at it. Play bank code. Okay. The website that I have up is my bank code, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
but we got there. Okay, so let's dive deeper into the personalities as you were before we went for break.
Okay. So very quick overview first. Because we started talking about what is our society going as. So the blue systemizer personality is inside the box. Okay, the blue just wants to know what the rules are. They'll follow all the rules. They'll do things, but if just everybody followed the rules, we'd be better. The red is the outside the box thinker. They tend to go off in every which direction. They're very quick to take action. They don't care that this might not be the perfect action. Think of it as the blue gets in a boat and they want to know exactly where they're going, and they're going to steer and they're going to go right in that direction. The red just wants to get the boat moving first, and then we'll figure out what direction we're going in. So we'll make a decision. If it has to be remade tomorrow, I don't care. But right now, this is the best decision today. So the red is impulsive, wants to get things done, wants to get things happening outside the box. The yellow is about the relationships. And since we're all in this box together, why don't we decorate it? And then when we're finished, let's make sure we recycle the box, because that would be the good thing to do. Probably resonates with you. The green, the green being the thinker, doesn't even know that there's a box. I always say, what box is the green thinker, right? Because they simply think in long term, and the boxes don't exist. So they really have little idea that there are rules that should bind them, and sometimes they do strange things. The basis of some TV shows, for example, are green people doing what green people do, which is just being completely disconnected from the world around them sometimes.
Okay.
So now, go ahead.
No, so I was going to say, so now what do we do with this information?
Well, understanding what we are. For example, we started off to say as a yellow, it's to thine own self be true, all right? A yellow, more than anything else, wants authenticity. And the two things that will drive a yellow crazy is guilt. If a yellow feels they haven't done something that's true to their values, they're likely not to sleep about it for a few days. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that really frustrates them is when others are inauthentic to them. So as an example, if I were to come and sell to you, if I was interested in selling, as an example, I would have to make sure that everything I said to you was true to me. Because as a yellow, you have a BS meter that's very effective. You know right away if somebody's not telling you the truth. And so if they don't tell you the truth, you're out.
Oh my God, this is so funny. And hearing this first thing Monday morning, my entire week's going to change.
Yeah. Well, and I walk through sessions with people. There are 12 basic thinking types, if you will, for the way we look at the world. Yours is the nurturer, action taker. This is a people-based leader. Think of the companies that are really well run, where they're trying to change the world, and they're all led by people who are yellow reds. Okay. Relationship action. That combination of relationship action or action relationship dominates our boards of directors. Most
okay, now
boards
I'm sitting
of
up a little taller. I just want you to know
I'm
sitting up a little taller right now.
Now, the more interesting part about all of this is we'll get to it probably in the next section, but we'll get to the idea that we can choose to be whatever we want to be. And we'll talk about how to do that. But now with your personality type, if I'm coming to sell to you, I'm going to be talking to you about how whatever I'm offering is going to help create better relationships and better results in your organization. And after all, you know that those better results are going to give you the type of relationships. If the results are there, we're not going to feel the stress, and everybody's going to get along better, and it's just easier in a place when results happen. And so I'm going to be talking to you about those things. And we buy from people we like. We like people who seem like us. So if I can act like a relationship action, yellow-red, in front of you, you're going to think that I'm a great person. Now, I'm not suggesting being false, okay? But everybody can act like any of the personalities for a short period of time. Over our lifetime, we can't do that. We have to be who we are. But for a short period of time, in the interest of doing business, you can walk into a business meeting and say, today for this meeting, I need to be a blue-yellow. I need to be able to get along and get the best out of other people. And so we can adopt that personality when we're aware of it. And by doing that, we can simply affect the energy of the group and the way the whole group gets along.
Okay. So it's interesting. In my past, I was a human resources professional, and when I was consulting, I worked with a company that was mainly engineers. Mm-hmm. And the typical engineer is facts, right? Prove it, science, all the rest of it. And that just kind of jumped up in my mind. It's like, yeah, when I would go into those meetings, I knew what they required to be able to hear what I was providing, what I could provide.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, you as a nurturer, a relationship person, struggle most with the knowledge people. And so it's hardest for you to communicate with them. And here's the reason. Your language tends to be metaphoric. I want to tell you a story so you'll learn, so you'll do something different, because I didn't like what you did there. In order to have you learn to do something different, I'm going to give you a story or a parable. Because most of the big teachers, Jesus, Mohammed, Buddha, were in fact yellow reds. And so they talked
David,
in terms
David,
of...
now you're just singing to me. You're just singing me now.
What can I say? I used to be a green. I'm not anymore. Anyway, so you like to tell the indirect story, and the greens like to just hear the facts. Let's talk about facts. They're very blunt, and that bluntness is almost offensive to a yellow. And the yellows speak indirectly, and the greens sometimes look and go, "What do you really want?"
Right.
What are you really telling me here? Because they can't figure through the indirection, because they're and I'll say it as one who used to be a green, they're in denial of their emotional side of things. Everything's got to be logical, and because they don't have the ability, or they choose to deny the ability to understand emotionally what's being said, they don't get some of the references. They distrust their emotions. And again, that's all reversible. That's stuff that typically happens to us in childhood that makes us that way.
Okay. So
the idea now is how you communicate. The types of things you like are all determined by your personality. So, for example, we talked about language. Yellows are invariably extroverts. Reds have a tendency towards extroversion. Greens have a tendency towards introversion. Now, introversion means that they value that I determine my net value as a person internally. I don't need to interact with other people to know if I'm good, bad, or otherwise. And so greens have a tendency towards introversion. They think too much, but it's all they think whether they have value or not. And blues are most likely to be extremely they're more on the introvert side than anything else. So there's a whole range that gets determined by your top personality type. Okay? When you get into conversations, you're likely to talk about relationships, the potential of people, what's the significance of events, long-term future trends, where's the world going? And so a yellow is a change the world person, whereas a blue is a charity person. I want to help somebody. Yellows go for causes.
Mm.
Okay? So just you're likely to dress in a unconventional way. On the party, you'll be the one with the costume that everybody looks and goes, geez, I wish I'd worn that.
David, seriously, I haven't had my coffee this morning. You're just going too deep, man.
Well, the whole idea about all of this is, if all of this is predictable from your cards, from your personality type, how does that help us in the world? And I think that's, for the next section, we should focus on what's the impact. How do I use this information?
Right. Yeah, and I've got a couple more questions that are coming to mind as well. So this is a good segue for our next break, and when we get back, we will dive into more. I'm really excited to hear more about this, David. So thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back right after this short commercial break with David Simpson, where we are talking about your personality determines your life. Stay tuned.
Do you have something inspiring to say? Would you like a taste of being one of our inspired hosts? Get on the air on the Inspired Choices Network Open Mic Spotlight Show. The Open Mic Spotlight Show is your time to shine and inspire our global audience. Shows air at 9 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each week. Claim your spot today. Simply contact our network owner at info@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Forget the days of 5 minutes of fame. Now you can have 55 minutes of fame.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You are listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Show here on Inspired Choices Network. To call in and ask questions, call 815-880-8255 in the U.S., 613-800-8736 in Canada, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we are speaking with David Simpson. And David, before the break, you were going into more about the personalities, and now which direction do you want to take us to educate us more about all of this knowledge you've shared?
Well, I think the important part is to try to get to the point where the listeners know that this stuff is usable in their everyday life. And so we use it to teach people, how to sell, because, again, we buy from people we like. We use it to teach people how to get along better as individuals, as members of teams, if you will, and we use it specifically to help work groups learn how to manage their interactions better. For example, again, using you, Christine, as a yellow, relationship-based person, you tend to be sensitive to conflict. You like to be the mediator. You're a people problem solver rather than a technical, a fact-based task problem solver. You have some good imaginative ideas for things. You're emotional, sympathetic. You like to praise and recognize others, and you're into self-improvement. So knowing those things about you, knowing that you like to talk indirectly, you don't really want the facts you want. You want to know the emotional content of things. As a bridge builder, those types of things you need to have people who do that on a working work team in order for teams to function well, and people need to understand who's taking that role on. When we have that type of structure in place where people understand how to communicate together with each other and how to effectively get along with each other member of the team, teams function at a much higher level. And then as far as sales goes, which is the other main application for personality, besides relationships, it's sales. We sell to people who think we're like them. And because these personality types are relatively evenly distributed, again, the cultures create disorientation. But in North America, we're relatively evenly distributed. As a yellow-red, you could easily sell to other yellow-reds or to red-yellows. So you sell to people who have the same top drive. That means you can sell roughly to 1/6 of the world as you are. If you know who the person you're talking with is, if you know their personality type, then you can talk as they are. And that will allow you to increase your sales effectiveness by 3 to 4 times. So people who are personality aware as salespeople tend to sell way more than the average people do, who can sell to about 1/6 of the people, because 3/4 of the people who come to talk to us about a problem are serious about buying now. It turns out that the average salesperson sells to about 13% of their sniffs. Somebody who is good at personality will sell 50%. So
David, that was one of my questions. That was one of my questions. How do we know what personality that our prospect is if we've not met them before, if we don't really know anything about them? How do you assess the individual and how you need to present to them if we're just learning about them, just meeting them?
Well, it starts as simple as a greeting. The traditionalist, the systemizer, the blue, always wants to just shake hands. The green wants to show you, when you first meet them, they want to show you their business card, because it's got all of their qualifications on that card. So you know what they know once you see their card. The red wants to high five. Once you've been around a red, once a red knows you, they're going to high five you. They can't be bothered with this handshake stuff. And a yellow is a hugger.
Well, I'm not usually hugging salespeople when I walk into their stores. So
Correct. Not the first time, anyway. If you've met them a few times, then that'll happen. Hey, so great to see you again. Right? So the important thing now, let's draw for the listeners. Draw yourself a box with 4 squares in it. Okay. On the upper left, I'm going to put the blue. On the upper right, the green. The bottom left is red, and the bottom right is yellow. Okay? And I want to do that so that I can make some points about the personality type. So blue and yellow, the diagonal, are people-oriented. Green and red are task-oriented. So by virtue of whether you talk about people or results, I know I can very quickly determine one of the two. Now, the red and the yellow are high energy people. They just ooze out at you. And the blue and green are more reserved.
Mm-hmm.
So usually with just a few sentences, I can tell where somebody is in terms of their energy level and their orientation. Usually it takes about once you're used to this, and I've been at it for several years now, it takes about 15 seconds to have a pretty good assessment on this. Now, some of the best people at doing this are policemen, especially if they're the type who interview people in the rooms, where the guys who are asking the suspect the questions. They're really effective at picking up the little things. And I've watched some policemen talk to a personality, and I within 3 seconds, they knew what they were dealing with. The second question out of their mouth was exactly the right question for the personality type that I knew of this other individual. And so I talked to them after, how do you know? Oh, we're trained on doing that. So if the police can use it to determine how to more effectively interact with the public, somebody in the public, basically it's there for all of us to learn to do the same thing. So high energy is red or yellow, low energy is blue or green, people orientation is blue or yellow, task orientation is green or red. Now, the other thing is the green and the yellow are longer term thinkers. The blue and the red are shorter term thinkers. So the red wants to make a decision now. The blue wants to analyze the decision now. Okay, and so they're in the mode of dealing with the problem that's right at hand right now. And the yellows and the greens tend to think long term. The yellows long term about people, the green long term about tasks and results. So yellows build relationships for the long term. They have hundreds of friends, and they know something about all of them. Yellows make a party because when they're at a party, they can hook the people together who have common interests. And so everybody loves to be around a yellow because they know they're going to get along with other people. Reds are all about self-oriented fun. Right? So bungee jumping started from a red, from an action person. Nobody else would ever think that attaching a long elastic band and throwing myself off a cliff with water at the bottom would be a fun thing to do.
Who knew?
So that type of daredevil behavior is classic red behavior, right? Action-oriented.
Got it. Well, this is really fascinating. Now, before we go any farther, I do want to let all of the listeners know that you have a special gift that you are sharing with them based on listening to today's show. So you have said that you're going to give a 50% discount for a one-day training session for 8 or more people. Like, how many businesses out there would absolutely explode with this information? I mean, I'm sure you go in and do teams all of the time, David. What do you see changes for teams when they go through this type of training?
Typically what happens is you can take a completely non-functional team, and at the end of a one-day session, they completely get each other. They're much more able to understand the other's motivations, because your motivations come from your personality. The values that you have drive your personality, and all your behaviors, everything else that you do is largely a result of your personality. So understanding how people are going to behave and likely act, that's what allows you to effectively create a team that works together. And some of the results I've seen have simply been spectacular, where you take a team that was totally non-functional, and at the end of it all, you've got a group that really is cohesive with a shared experience and really understanding how to get along with each other.
That's fantastic. That's so fantastic. Being in human resources for 25 years, this would have been a gold nugget to have under my arms, walking into different organizations for sure.
Absolutely.
That is tremendous. And then you're also, for one of the listeners, they're going to get a free hour evaluation, including either relationship skills or career guidance. So that's phenomenal. So what I'm going to suggest is for all of our listeners listening now and into the future, how about we give them a week's time and they email you, David, and from that, you determine who is the winner.
And we can do that. Happy to do that.
Awesome. So
info at davidsimpson360.com is the email. If you want to send an email, we'll take the number that we get and we'll pick a random number. I used to be an engineer. I'll make up a random number generator. We'll figure out who's going to win.
I'm going to leave that in your capable hands. I know, David, and I can actually give you a story about that if you'd like.
Oh, I've got a lot of stories about engineers. Just for the fun of it, I write a blog, and there's no money, no commercial interest. But if you know engineers, livingwithyourengineer.com is the website I use, and the tagline is: "We know women are from Venus and men are from Mars. Just where did the engineers come from, and why didn't they stay there?"
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic! I know a few engineers I might send that to. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our show. I would love to get to the piece about how do we change our personalities.
Excellent. So for us, what we have to remember and think about as we get into there is we actually formed our personalities based on the environment around us. We got messages from the environment around us all the time. For a parent with an oldest child, you hold them back. You tend to say, "No, honey, don't do that." And part of the reason you're holding them back is, as soon as the first child does it, the second child's going to do it, and it's way too soon for the second child. So the oldest child gets all these messages about being held back, as an example. And so the environment makes that person risk averse. It's actually like we're advertising. The environment is advertising to our brain, and our brain organizes itself around that. And so what we really have to do if we want to change is go back to the values that drive the personality. And again, if you've gone to playbankcode.com, you've seen the personality values that are on the cards. If you take the values that you want to have and you take a very colorful picture that represents a value that you want to have, and put it up in 2 or 3 places where you see it all the time, okay? And by seeing it all the time, every time you look at this picture, say I want it to be authentic. And for me, my choice when I stopped being a green-red was to become a yellow-red. And so authenticity mattered to me. So I found a picture that meant authentic to me. And so I put it up on the bathroom and in my car. And every time I look at the picture, I go, yes, I'm so grateful that I feel that way, that's important to me. And so I reprogram over the period of time my subconscious on what are the things that I really value. My subconscious automatically brings that to me. And so it's as simple.
So it's a choice.
Yes, absolutely. Advertise what you want. Advertise it to yourself, and look and consciously feel good. Feel grateful for the fact that you have this value, and you can change to anything.
That's very cool. So how, I guess it would depend on each individual and their consistency with focusing on that, but generally how long would it take somebody before they would change their personality?
Well, it takes us about 6 to 8 years to set our personalities when we're children. So it does take a while for this to happen. For me, it's been about a 3-year journey, and I still have a strong green showing.
Right.
But even the people who created that card system, the bank system that the users or listeners are using in order to be able to assess their personality, the lady who created that said to me last year, she said, you keep saying you were a nurturer, a yellow. I'm now starting to believe it. Because she had seen me before when I was pure and simply an engineer, a green, a thinker action. And I told them when I came back a year later, no, I'm now a nurturer, action. And they said, are you sure? And I said, well, I'm on my way. And
Have you looked in the mirror?
Every now and then they would say to me, David, your green is showing, which meant I was acting more like an engineer. But in the end of the day, you cannot completely reprogram and erase years and years of life.
Right, and I'm sure that you've had people who would say and bring their knowledge and facts to the table and say that when you try to do that, you're going to create confusion with the individual who was born that way. And what you're saying is we're not born a certain way with a certain personality.
I don't believe we're born with a fixed personality. I believe we're born as a whiteboard, and the world conspires to make us who we are. The great news about that is that we're able as adults to go back and remake every decision we made as a child in order to be able to have the life we want to have. And to me, that's the truly inspirational part of personality science, is it's now become a choice. Who do you want to be?
I like that. It's now become a choice. I think that's an amazing information to have, because in that, so many of us are looking outside of ourselves to what education, what knowledge, who can I follow? And when we can learn more about ourselves and what it is that we desire, it does all become a choice.
Life is a choice, and unfortunately, for many of us, we don't discover until later in life that in fact it is. Where we put our attentions, whatever it is we decide that's important to us, that's what life will bring to us. And so we have to learn how to be the person that we wanted to be. And the whole purpose of life for those who are younger is to acquire the wisdom. The wisdom to become a better person by the time your spirit leaves the earth. Are you a better person than the person who came? Have you learned something? And so to me, that's the purpose. And for me to have come so far from a person who just simply believed, I'll find the right answer, and then you'll follow me because I will empower you with my logic. I'll overpower you with my logic. To become somebody who says, what's important to you? Is just a whole different way of being.
It really is. We've just got a couple minutes left before we're done the show, David. This conversation has gone very quickly. You've intrigued me. I'm sure that you've intrigued the listeners. I'm definitely going to go speak to my brothers, Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha, and after
say
our
hi
call
for me.
To just say, yeah, absolutely.
I'm working on it. I'm not there yet.
You're not there yet. You just give me a call if you need some assistance. It's so fascinating, and I think people would be definitely ahead in creating what it is that they desire with this information. So if you would like to learn more, do go to David's website, davidsimpson360.com. Connect with him on social media. Absolutely send him an email. You could be the listener of the recipient of his wonderful gift. And if you're a business owner and you have a team, you definitely want to get in touch with him to have your team be exposed to this. So thank you so much, David, for being with me today. Certainly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Even if it was really early in my time to get up and do this, it's well worth it, and it's been a fun conversation. I hope the audience has enjoyed it as well.
I'm sure they did. Thank you again, and have a great day, David. It's amazing to now know who you are. Thank you so much.
All right, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Open Mic Spotlight Radio Show. We will be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, continue to create you with joy and inspiration.